Fun yet informative podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mouse House Plus, episode 60. I'm Hank,
And I'm Zuzu.
and we're your hosts covering every Disney Plus Marvel series. This is the season 1 finale. Is it the series finale? We'll debate that at the end, John. But let's get right into it, shall we?
Yes.
Damage Control is on the scene looking for Bruno and Cameron on the train when his powers trigger. Did you feel like he went from, I know we're going to get to it in a minute, but do you feel like he went from the onset of powers to full-blown powers a little too quickly, or did Kamala have that same arc in your opinion?
No, okay, because of my extensive knowledge on X-Men stuff, it's seeing how things pop up in the mutant world, I think it was kind of accurate. Like, you went from like, oh, what's going on, to now I can't control it whatsoever. It's popping out whenever you don't want to. Actually, my issue with that scene was when he shot it, went through the train, but they're in a subway, right?
Right.
Isn't that like plowing through the wall in the subway train? Because that's what it kind of looked like to me, like it went beyond that.
Yeah,
so I thought that's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, well, the train's still on the track, but they do make a comment later on about how the train, they derailed a train. So don't know. That's one of those, it was behind the scenes stuff. But when it comes to his exhibiting his powers like that, I believe it, because it's how that happened in the X-Men was whenever you're like in a stressful situation is whenever their mutant power like kicked in, even if you wanted it to or not. And in this case, they're being chased by Damage Control in a subway, and he's not feeling too well. Although that entire like comment that he makes about being crushed on the inside out, I was like, so we're trying to make up words for that. So is that so is implosion with an explosion? So it's it's X implosion.
Not bad at all. Kamala has an announcement to make, but loose lips sink ships. Everybody already knows. That was so funny. She's just like trying to muster the courage. Like, I have something to tell you. And yeah, she already told us. I was like, oh, wow.
Again, how perfect the family dynamic that they built with this, because you're like, yep, I totally believe that. You're like, yeah, because she told him he's yelling into his phone, so how could the rest of us not hear? But I like awesome. Her brother, or the brother is just like, oh no, really?
When he says, did you drop that kid on purpose? I about fell out, because I was like, thank you for calling this back.
But then at the end we get the call back as well.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
But it's fun. Her dad has questions when Nakia FaceTimes to tell Kamala about Circle Q. I was like, oh, snap. She didn't know about that. Seems like that would have been right on the news, though, wouldn't it? An explosion downtown.
I mean, they're living in the world of Marvel. I mean, how many explosions happen downtown in New York?
True.
So, and I mean, honestly, like how much like craziness happens in New York in real life downtown. They're probably like, it's another thing. But okay, so I have a question because I can't figure it out. I don't want to have to go back and rewatch this entire series to figure it out. But do anybody else have parents or somebody that watches over them? Because Bruno doesn't own this entire corner building, right?
That's all. I always thought it was his parents until he said the other day that, they left me, they're not around and stuff. And I was like, what? I just assumed it was his parents' business, and then they just didn't have screen time for the parents.
Well, and how does the business make money? If he's got to run the business, how does he make money? Or when he's at school all the time? So, like, I mean, that's after it got blown up, I'm like, who's you think that someone would be like, oh my gosh, my business, and that wasn't the case. But I mean, but it's not just him. It's also Kamala's friend, because we're like, okay, I mean, nothing wrong with the character whatsoever. She doesn't. In this, they do a great job of projecting of how independent she is, but doesn't she have a parent that she can call? all too. So,
Right. Yeah. Nobody has parents. Zoe certainly doesn't have parents.
yeah, that's I don't
She's
that's
live
I think
streaming
that's
like 20 hours a day. Uh,
yeah. Yeah,
Crazy.
none of the kid no one has parents except for Kamala.
But I think that's kinda like a standard television trope,
Yeah.
whenever you go back to the old shows in the '80s, '90s. It's like you saw one set of parents and then nobody else had parents on screen.
Yeah, but in the defense for that, we would always see that those kids were in a specific setting somewhere where it'd be like in school all the time, and then you wouldn't expect them to be any kind of communication with their parents in the first place because
Right.
they're in school. But
Yeah.
this one, you're seeing the whole roundabout like life of these teenagers and no parents.
Mom makes the full costume. That was a good touch because I was thinking that Kamala was gonna piecemeal everything, but mom kinda coming in and coordinating the rest of it and making it look like something, the way it should look, unlike that very first costume. No
Well,
offense,
but
Bruno, but yikes.
Well, but it's also kids trying to make a cosplay costumes
Yeah.
outside of like, having like professional Pakistani like seamstress,
Yeah.
putting together the outfit. So
So it looked good. I thought this costume looked good.
yep. I agree. It was pretty spot on.
I got Spider Girl vibes or Cubert vibes for those that are old enough to know who Cubert when she's going through the town. She's,
Oh,
instead of slinging, she's just like hopping.
so my question to you is how did you like the animation, the CGI animation of her running in the sky? The
The higher
I'll
up
tell you
it
how I
was,
feel.
the better it looked. When she got closer down, it looked terrible. It looked like it just looked like terrible animation, like unrealistic movement.
Well, okay, so then that's completely opposite what I was thinking because like the very first scene when you see her running, like just like in the distance and going away, like
Uh-oh.
you can tell that that's CGI. Am I
Right.
am I chopping up?
Just a little bit. Can you
Uh,
down it?
yeah, yeah. Let's see. I don't even know what I'm on right now. I am on 480 right now. Now I'm on 360. Ooh, I'm even bigger now. Okay, so but when she's like, run coming down the building, and I thought that because that's her. That's actually her. That's not CGI. When she's getting closer to the ground when she's basically like 10 feet from the ground.
Are you
That's
sure? Because it
yeah.
looked awful. Like it looked like she was moving in ways that were not realistic.
Well, I'm not talking about like when she was like swinging on things. I'm talking about like when she like when she comes down that alley, which I know we haven't got to yet, but when she comes down that alley like that, I didn't see that being as so CGI directed as a lot of the other stuff. But anyway, I was just curious of how your opinion on that.
Okay, interesting. All right, Bruno and Cameron show up at the mosque, but we think they're diverted to the school. At least that's kind of what they said at that time, but not totally diverted at that moment. Damage control shows up at the mosque. Anybody want cookies? I was like, this is a sitcom at this point. It kind of presents itself in that manner. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, but at the same notion, they did throw out there. We're a mosque in New York. This isn't our first rodeo. Come on, it's just like ding, ID. So, and then I like the subtext for being like, he's like, I don't think she's gonna like your cookies. Like everyone likes my cookies.
His cookies are amazing. They looked
Mhm.
amazing anyway.
Nutmeg, man.
And man, that's the secret ingredient.
Yep.
Damage control searches the mosque, and Nakia is stalling. And I was like, it's too obvious that they would be in there, that Bruno and Cameron would be in there. But I was thinking that it was going to be something different. And then she's like, here's my boyfriend. And he's like, you heard her say I'm her boyfriend.
And we cracked up. He's like, I need that video. You have got any of you got cameras on you? I need that video footage. But here was my issue. So with this scene, so she's like, you can't go in there. Highly religious. You're ignoring my religious freedom, and then like you don't want to do that. And then all of a sudden it changes up to, well, it's just bathroom stuff.
Right.
I mean, if anything, she should have just kept on the first path instead of like backstepping on other things.
Yeah, because it makes you seem guilty.
Oh no, yeah, automatically. As soon as she changes something, we're like, oh crap, well, I have to open the door now.
The Sheik is like, here, have a disguise. I was like, that's the worst disguise ever. Just a hat.
Yep.
And what did it say? Did you see what they said? I couldn't remember what they said. No, it's not a big deal. It's not a search deal.
No, it's not a search. I have a picture right here. One says haram, and the other one says halal.
Okay. Now, Kamala hugs Bruno while Cameron powers go haywire. And she seems super excited to see Bruno, probably because of the Circle Q situation, wouldn't you assume?
Well, I do like the entire like, what are you wearing? And they're at the same time like, what are you wearing? that breakdown. We're like, yeah, well, that's pretty believable.
Kamala has to call her Red Dagger friend for help. He was like, that was fast. I was thinking the same thing myself. I was like, yeah, that was kind of a quick turnaround. Like, if you ever need trouble, or if you ever need help and you're in trouble, just call them. Bring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun. So get him to the harbor by midnight and they'll take him away. Did you believe, though, that they were going to help him knowing that he is part of the clandestines?
Yes, but I kind of get Kamala's point behind it because he never did anything to them. He was actually even left behind. He only got arrested because of association with them. And if anything, he needs to be trained up to be able to do good, I guess. I mean, there's the only other person that's going to be able to like actually understand or even come close to being able to acknowledge him and not be scared of him will be the Red Daggers. True. Which, by the way, their organization consists of one person still. To me, it was two. Now it's only one.
Oh my gosh. So Damish at the school, Nakia and Kamala talk about their issues of her not telling her that she was the hero and stuff. They'd resolve that, but damage control is already there. And even Zoe is there to help. I was kind of surprised at Zoe, one, there to help, and two, she's like, oh, I knew it was you the whole time. Okay. I mean, we usually don't get that transparency in these types of shows.
Well, but remember, if we go back to our first episode, this is one of those things where you're like, how is she not noticing who she is? It's like it's not that far off. Right. Yeah. So I mean, I can totally see like, well, here's the person that bullies her all the time. Of course, she's probably going to recognize who she is, and we get satisfaction out of it because she did.
Yeah, that was good. All right. Here's the plan. And just on the last TV and movie reviews podcast, Mel said whenever there's an elaborate plan, it always fails. But I think he's wrong in this instance because we get an elaborate plan and it sort of works, kind of works, a little bit works.
I mean, think about it. Everything worked until they got ambushed from behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to give him credit. Okay. So during this whole thing, by the way, when she's like, get every single fire extinguisher, they did not get every single fire extinguisher. I have to point this out. My son, Desmond, who specifically said that I had to say this on the podcast, that when they're running into that office to hide behind the desk, right on the corner, there's a big old fire extinguisher just sitting there on the wall. And he's like, they didn't get all the fire extinguishers. And he's like, you got to say that tomorrow. And I'm like, yep.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you. Thank you. You'll be taking over Dad's chair in no time.
Nice.
Now, did you see Zoe breaking the glass or attempting to break the glass? Maybe that's why they didn't get that last extinguisher.
But hold on. What's the point? Why was there a hammer? It's one of those things where you grab hammer, break glass. It's right there. And I was like, I'm like, kids. Oh my God.
You were like, this poor child cannot get in. It's childproof, literally. Oh,
Yeah.
that was great. We're gonna stall damage control with softballs. I was like, okay, what? This was so crazy. But Deaver is called off by her superior. I'm assuming he's the superior officer,
Yes.
and Deaver just blows that off. Everybody get ready. We're going in. I was like, okay, didn't he just say not to do that? And he will find out that you did it anyway if you
Yeah.
bring her in or Cameron in. Or...
Well, and the thing, the only part that gets me is that, it took so long for her to pick up her phone and for him to say, you're fired, get out of there, but I was like, why didn't he just send like another squad or something? I mean, or why didn't he contact another commander that was there? Why does that always have to be? I mean, I understand how these shows have to work, but like in a realistic approach, you'd be like, okay, let that person go. Oh, we haven't heard back from them yet. Oh, let's look at social media. It's blowing up. Contact the next person and the next person. Tell them all to get out of there.
If they're on comms too, he could be spliced into that and be like, look, anybody else that does anything, you are facing XYZ. And they'd be like, oh, we're out of here.
Yep.
All right. Zoe knew Kamala had powers, and then Kamala tells Bruno about Cameron's mom. I was like, oh no, that is awful. And her brother, when he says, do you even like British Bake Off? Man, I about lost it again because it's so next level, of like funny of a funny line to insert into the story, because he is saying like all that stuff we talked about, was any of that real? Like they bonded over this.
Yeah, and that was like all the relationship they have is based upon 5-minute conversation. So of course that's all that he has to say to come back out.
That was so funny to me. I loved it. Damage control breaches the building. We have a bomb. Nope, it's a fake bomb. I wish they would have rickrolled them.
No, it was Zuzu.
But
that was Zuzu, man. I was like, and then I'm like, look, within the disco ball comes down, and I'm like, where are the lasers coming from? And why are the lasers following the disco ball like someone's holding a laser down to it?
I wish it would have played, what is that? Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh, yeah, Rick Roll. Yes, I get it now. Okay.
That would have been perfect. Perfect for this show. So Zoe goes live to expose damage control. Everyone is wearing red hoodies, and they're using the splooge, from freaking like Nickelodeon, and pranks are happening everywhere. I thought it was great.
Well, we already saw this happen in episode 1, whenever she's in with the counselor and they're basically going over, you had a rough week. That was what she did. She mixed those chemicals and it went like that, but it was in a little beaker. So they did that in more of the grand scale. So then we're sitting there watching that. We're like, well, that might be real. I'm like, this one part right here where it's going out of the stairs. No, that's CGI. We could tell that's CGI. I'm like, but the initial one might have been legit.
That is cool.
But then Desmond was pointing out, because he had to chime in again, that stuff's really hot, and is right, because the chemical construct, when it comes out, the temperature increases while it's expanding. So and then I'm like, well, yeah, but all those guys, those foot soldiers, they're in a lot of padded stuff, so they're probably not going to get too messed up. But we know that they're not covering every little like nook and cranny. So, right. but anyway, that was just something else that was pointed out.
Kamala and Cameron are barely able to keep from getting found, and then they're about to kiss, but Bruno shows up and stops that moment from transpiring. And Bruno is a dancing machine. Softballs for everyone, or is it jail for everyone? It seemed like more like jail for everyone.
But no, hold on. They came in and they smashed him in the face with a gun. Why didn't he have like a bruise later on, or like his face was messed up? I'm like, man, poor Bruno. Like they just like, whap, and he's just down. I'm like, geez, whoa. I'm like, he's not even exhibiting any powers or doing anything, and you're just gonna whatever, man.
Mess him up like that. That's
Yep.
terrible. All right, so Cameron unleashes, or excuse me, um, where am I at?
You are on the TPE Network.
Not bad, not bad. So, anywho, the damage control agent is about to get finished when Kamala stops Cameron from doing it, and him and her battle momentarily. What did you make of this, especially what's gonna transpire in a minute? But what did you make of like him going over the edge, so to speak?
Well, I mean, that's just it's grief. Everyone experiences grief, and he was just mad. And I think he was more mad over the fact that everyone, people knew and hadn't told him yet.
Okay.
So, but my personal favorite thing here is you get to see Kamala realize that I'm going to have to fight him and I'm going to have to stop him. Like she has that look like, I know what this means and I know what I'm going to have to do. So it was a very good setup that they did for this whole little bit before he starts going bonkers and then like trying to wreck things.
She is able to save him, but then damage control brings out that Hulk sonic weapon. Isn't
Yes.
that the one?
Yes, absolutely. I jumped out of my seat and I'm like, holy crap. It's like, they've now, like, I know that they have before, but now they're using stuff from the Hulk. I'm like, that's like, that's the second movie they released. I mean, it's so old. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad that they brought that back. And now they're connecting that all the way down. Thank you. I was very excited for that, if you couldn't tell. And I still am, because we've seen this. We know how it works. It didn't work very well in the Hulk, and clearly they didn't refine it very well here either.
Over to you. All right.
That's right.
This was a cool moment, but how does she know to say "embiggen" time? Like "embiggen." How does she know to say that?
I mean, that was just something that even in the comic books she made up. That's something that she made it up and called it that her, when she got big, that was just something that she made up for herself. So, I mean, it makes sense, but for her to, I think she was just trying to picture what it is that she could do. And then, and also vocalizing it. And that's where we ended up with her getting bigger.
Hey, Anna, we're off the air for just a second.
Okay.
What about her doing this to Thanos, and she sticks her fist regular sized up his butt, and then she says "embiggen," and then okay, we're going back on there. You got to try to keep composure. All right. Well, I like your thoughts on that one, John. She goes big fist, and then Cameron launches a vehicle, but Kamala stops it from killing people. And she gives off the big peace sign. I'm like, wouldn't you have to be super strong, though, to even hold your own gigantic fist up?
I mean, it's light, but hold on, you're missing this. Where have you seen this before? Not this part, but where did you see the car part before?
The car stopping?
Yeah. Ooh, let's see if you can
Which one
figure it
is
out.
What is it?
It's a Spider-Man movie.
Oh no. She stopped the car like Spider-Man. Is she?
Well, no, it's like a trope setup, like, and then it gets stopped at the last minute. But every time that we see that, it was always in a Spider-Man movie.
Patricia Pakistani Parker.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cameron unleashes his powers, but Kamala makes like that Doctor Strange little ball around them so they can talk.
Yeah, encapsulates it, keeps it there.
But it's the goofy. That's kind of goofiness. You know what I mean? Like everything's in chaos and stuff. And hey, let's just have an aside real quick here. I guess we just did that.
Well,
so that's not fair.
Well, yeah, but see, while watching how everything was spreading, when she did that, everything just halted.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, she's trying to contain the Nor that's in him that's literally pouring out of him.
Okay. So now it is time for her to help him escape. Do you think it's realistic that she still wanted him to escape after all this stuff? Because he's kind of gone villain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if he had killed someone, then yes, I would definitely see her and be like, "No, you have to turn yourself in." But I think that she was looking at it in a situational, as in he ended up this way and he didn't ask for this. They're just after him because because he's got
Reasons.
powers. So they're what I didn't like with this is that she punched a hole and you're gonna jump down a hole. I mean, I know that
Yeah.
it's New York, so I know there's sewers down there, but think about what you're jumping into, man. It could be a subway down there.
Yeah, there could be a lot of poop down there too.
That's right there is one of the things I'm like, okay, I don't believe this. This is one of the one part in it like that would just it took me out because I'm like, yeah, you don't know what's there. And you're telling him to get to. How is he even supposed to know where to go to get out to get to the docks?
Right. Get
Or I
to the
guess you just keep
docks.
following the water until you get to the docks, right?
Which docks?
Yeah.
Or
But I mean,
what?
how they did this as not so much like 100% adult
Right.
oriented based thing, that's information that we would want and we think of, but younger people are just gonna be like, yeah, get to the docks, it's over there.
It's damage control versus the people and the local police. Kamala's able to escape, and Devers is done. I was like, "Oh, man." How they stand in front. That's another, like, Spider-Man trope, ain't it?
Yep. And
Yeah.
is she done, or do you think that she'll be back?
She'll be back, but she is, off of this mission at least.
Oh yeah.
Maybe she'll be part of some other group, the Thunderbolts or something.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, we're on the same page. Interesting. Achievement unlocked. Social media is buzzing. And then the kid with the broken leg, he
Maybe
shows up.
maybe it was in beta. Maybe she was running around in beta. That was great. Because
Oh,
and the funny part is, in reality, yeah, that was she was in beta.
he dropped me and broke my leg. That kid
Now,
should get an Oscar, man, an
now
Emmy or something.
I'll go through all the Easter eggs at the end, but there is one specific Easter egg here. One of the people on the TikTok is the creator of the comic book.
Oh, didn't know that at all because I
Yep,
didn't read the comic.
she pops up. Well, I mean, it's not like her picture's in the comic book, but like the creator of Kamala, like she pops up as one of the TikTok people. And
Free?
also, and think about, hey, and now I'm a hot dog.
Free ice cream pizza. I was like, ew. I hope that
Yeah,
doesn't catch on. I really
yeah.
do. I hope.
I don't
I
want
hope
to.
that.
Nope.
There's two great things that don't go great together.
Nope.
I love Kamala and her dad having that conversation, and he is like me going out on that roof, like, "Oh no!" I was like,
Oh,
that would be me."
on a
I'd be like,
flat roof like that? I was
"Heck
like, come.
yes, I'm with
I'm
him."
like, but what are you scared of? It's flat.
Did you see her fall in like episode 1 or 2?
Yeah, I remember her falling, but what's what I'm getting at is that it's not like he saw her fall.
True.
But here, this was one of the things I appreciated. Apparently, the writers of the show somehow heard our podcast and heard me complaining and went back and fixed it. As she runs away, it's not just the sound that we hear. We get to see the reflection in his glasses. Because remember, I was like, she ran away the one time, and I was like, you just get to hear the sounds. It'd been nice if we saw anything, a light flash,
Yep.
some sort of other representation besides this sound. And here, not only did we get that, but we got to see it through his eyes as she's going away.
That is good. That's good attention to detail. Now she still doesn't have a name, so to speak, and he tells her about her birth story. Kamal means marvel, and thus Miss Marvel is born.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One week later, Bruno has Cameron's car. I was like, at least in Michigan in the United States, if somebody has a car and you don't get it properly transferred over the title, that car is useless. Like, it'll be impounded the second it's found. I had a friend just go through that and stuff. So just stuff like that, I'm just like, that's so kind of ridiculous. Like, if he would have got it and sold it and used the money to get his own car, a more modest car or something, then it would be more believable or whatever. But I was like, oh, okay. So he's just some criminal organization had this car. And you're like, come on.
Well, okay. Bruno's the one that found it. And he's going to, and I feel that he has the smarts to be able to make corrections so that in the end, it would end up being his.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. He's Tony Stark.
Yeah, he's mini Tony Stark. and Bruce Banner.
Yeah, true. Hopefully he hulks out at some point. Bruno says she's different than her family. Her genes are mutated.
And then
10 and 4 is the hand position.
No. You missed it. Oh, did you miss it? You get the 90s X-Men theme. Yes, for a hot set. No, not the whole thing. You just get that first, and then that was it. And I was like, she's a mutant. Boom.
Oh,
we have our first mutant now. That's our first confirmed mutant in this MCU universe. Outside
can't be the first one. It can be the first confirmed one, like you're saying, but it can't be the first one.
Well, who's the first one? Are you gonna say you get Professor X?
You would assume. I mean,
no, because he was in a different. He was in a different universe.
We'll see when they do X-Men. We'll see how they do this.
But so I have to rewind back a little bit. One of the scenes that we get when she's sitting on top of that lamppost is from her cool. number 5 episode comic book. So it's taken straight from the comic book.
That was cool. I like that scene.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a Spider-Man-ish scene as well. I know I keep saying that, but a lot of parallels to that.
Well, I mean, as soon as you have someone hanging on, like sitting on something that's not the ground, but I mean, it's like the same thing with Daredevil. I mean, how many the only time that we ever that Daredevil had like a specific pose, like, and that was his, was the one where Ben Affleck played him, and he was like hugging the steeple on the church, which that came from the comic books as well. But I mean, outside of that, any kind of pose on a rooftop is going to be a Spider-Man-ish pose.
Interesting. All right. The 10 and 4 for driving. I was like, nope, it's just noon when you drive. You just got to put the arm over the top of the steering wheel. But they're not that cool.
And there's a quick thing here. Oh, hold on. There's a quick thing here. This is an important one. It said, where's the exact line? It says, get in loses. We're getting shawarma.
Oh gosh, that is goofy. That is so goofy.
Yep.
I did not like this after credits. So Carol Danvers, did they like switch places?
Yes. All right.
I didn't like that.
Here's the thing. A lot of people think that she just turned into Carol Danvers because in the comic books she did that a couple times. She did have the ability to morph herself. But the thing is that whatever it is that made them swap, Carol did it, not her. She just ended up taking the kind of the brunt of that. So now we have to wait until a year from now for us to be able to come to the conclusion of like what did Captain Marvel do to basically have these places switched.
Okay. Well, are you ready to rate the episode?
Yes.
All right. I'll let you go first.
All right, I'm gonna give it a 9. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And again, the music selection is on point. And then even the end credits while they're doing it, I love everything that they do and how they keep matching things up. Like I really hope that they give us a full track listing of everything they did for this entire series, because I'll be bumping that around in my car.
Okay,
But
Brian.
in the end, being what it was, and a lot of people didn't think it was going to do very good. Looking at you, Hank.
It didn't do
Uh,
very good in ratings.
well,
As far as
okay,
in
you're
viewership, it did not do well at all.
you're right, but it's because it was not so much oriented towards adults than it was towards kids, and that's basically what everyone is like gauging it towards. But I I was happy with how this all turned out. In the end, we get a bad guy, but it's not a life threatening situation where the world's coming to an end. So it's about as grounded as you're going to get, and we get an introduction to the mutant race.
I can agree with some of that. Now, I am giving it an 8.5. I thought it was a really good episode for the series. I do have nitpicks, which I pointed out during the recap, of course. I think it is well done. I think that there's enough to be told there that they could do a season 2 just because it is, for who it's geared towards, per se, it is a fun enough ride. And there's enough there for like family entertainment, I think, for them to do another season. I wouldn't like keep doing season after season after season after season. These kids are
No.
going to age out, anyway. Soon you can kind of tell. I can kind of tell already, but I would at least do another, even if it's a short, 4-6 episode run.
Well, I mean, so they have done a short because what is it? It's the Disney cruise. There's I forget what it's specifically called, but I know that she is in the Disney cruise, it's a virtual reality or something like that with Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and like all the actors are playing. It's the real actors playing their parts in whatever it is this thing is. I saw kind of bits and pieces that people were filming off of their phones, but from what I was told, that was not connected to the MCU for in realities, because I guess how this ends, you don't know where, it doesn't explain how she ends up there.
Right. So, how many seasons would you run this if you were in charge?
I mean, I would like another one. I don't think that we need to go past 2 seasons
Right.
after that. I mean, I think that see, this is kind of like how they did Shield. Like, we got to a point where, like, yeah, we'd like for them to do another season, but I mean, I feel like they're running out of ideas. And I
Yeah.
mean, we haven't even scratched the surface with her stuff, but the way that Marvel is expanding and rolling things out, I'm pretty sure a lot of her other things are going to be covered elsewhere.
Right.
So I wouldn't mind catching up with her after the movie to see what happens with her then.
And then you could just include her in some ensemble
Yeah.
stuff, where it's like she's here to help and she gets a few minutes of screen time and bounces, it kind of satisfy her fans and such and keep it moving.
Well, and I mean, I'd like to see, her friendship with like the new Warriors or whatnot whenever that comes together, because I gotta get a Squirrel Girl in here because she's hilarious character. I mean, it's really it's really good. And that to mention that Van Trump, she who is doing the voice and has been doing the voice of Squirrel Girl now for like a decade, like she, okay, she looks good in the tail.
Not bad. Achievement unlocked. Next week, John, are we doing a wrap up episode or are we doing a news episode?
Could be either or. I'm open to either.
Okay, we'll be back either way next week with another episode of Mouse House Plus. John, anything else real quick?
Skipping through things and make sure that we covered everything. I'm pretty sure that we did. I got the creator who's in the TikTok videos at the end, and I mean, and we got her big in part. So I think I'm good.
All right. Well, one more. Again, I got to remind you that we are in the 2022 Podcast Awards, and we are up in 3 categories. So we're in entertainment. Mouse House Plus is in that category. A solo show that I do, called TPE Network Presents, where I have great guests like Wayne Henderson and Mouse House Plus's own John. on there, Big Mike from the soullounge.com, and Chris Gore, former television host on G4 TV, and others. So that is TPE Network Presents, and that's in the society and culture category. And then the Mandalorian Fan Podcast with me and Alex, we are in the TV and film category. So we have 3 shows in there, and then our good buddy Wayne Henderson does the Packers Fan Podcast in sports. If you want to click that box for him as well, that'd be fantastic. But for John, I'm Hank. Until the next time, we're signing off.
Bye, everybody.
TPE Network. There ain't nothing